All right. So, I think a lot of people can't believe it that you're finally going to be retiring. Why are you retiring at this point?
Well, I've been doing this nearly 50 years as a street reporter, and that's hard work. It's gratifying work. I love what I do, but 50 years is a long time, and we've had a couple tough years in my house, in my personal life. I lost my son. My wife had some illnesses, and I thought it was time for me to step back and focus more on my family, my grandchildren, and enjoy life a little bit.
Okay. You mentioned that you've been a street reporter. You've never been an anchor. What is it about being out on the street, being a reporter, that made you want to focus on that?
Well, I think being a street reporter puts you right out there on the scene with the people, and so you really have a front row seat in what's happening, and people who are in the business who work back at the station, if you will, they experience life through the lens of a camera, through a screen of a computer. You work the streets when you're out there. I mean, you can smell the tear gas in the air. You can feel the anticipation of the people. You can see the sadness at a crime scene. And that makes it more visceral. That, I think, are the types of things that drive the story and make you a better reporter. I mean, you were there. Other people say, well, we saw pictures of what was there, but you can say, I was there. And
You
that makes such a big difference. And I think it gives a lot of texture to the storyteller. I mean, you've done it hundreds of times yourself. Being there is so much better than being miles away and seeing what's going on, again, through the lens of a camera, through some live shot here, or through whatever you see on the computer screen.
I think being primarily a local reporter, you get the chance to do both crime and and your feature reporting, and you've excelled at both. First, on the crime, how have you gotten people to trust you to tell you things? You have great sources. You've always, I've always been chasing your stories. How do you get people to confide in you and want to trust you and tell you uh, some things?
Well, let's start with maybe the police or public officials. I think one of the ways to get information is to get the trust of the officials and the detectives and the police and what have you. You have to be there on occasions when you're not asking for something. You've got to care for them and the problems they have with their jobs. And you have to show an interest in what they're doing. And if they trust you and they know you really care about what they're doing, they're more likely to open up to you and tell you things you need to know. You can't always just be there to ask that question when something bad happens. You got to be there on the good days too. As
Thank
far
you.
as the people,
Mhm.
if my what I try to do is put a human face on the victims of violence in our city. And so many times, I think people are gunned down in our city and their lives are ignored. It's just another murder. It's just murder number 77 or 177. And I think when we tend to treat that kind of violence, that kind of death in our society, it eats away at the soul of our city. Everybody has a story that needs to be told. Their life just can't be tossed away in some, journalistic dumpster and just noted as number 14. Everybody has a story. Everybody deserves to have that story told, and in a way to show how important and painful that loss was to his or her family. And that's what I try to do. Uh, and that's part of what my job has been over all these years. My career is morphed into like two things. I cover murders and I measure snow, and that just happened. And I like doing both. I like doing features, but I also like doing stories of intrigue and stories about people's lives. And God knows I have stood many, many times, far too many times, in blood-stained streets in our city, talking to grieving mothers of young people who have been slaughtered. And it's painful, but it is a painful story that needs to be told until we can figure a way to do something about it.
Okay. The on the let's shift gears a little bit here. The on your feature stories, there's something to be said. Um, you know, humanity. You come across as a as a human being, and I think part of your charm is being able to poke fun at yourself. And I think that the audience really identifies with you because you're willing to share the a bit of yourself in your personality. Just talk, if you would, about that relationship and being willing to put a little bit of yourself, out there and share that with the audience.
Well, I think first of all, I think television is a visceral business. Okay. And I think if I do my job properly, my story will hit you in the heart. It'll either make you angry, it'll make you sad, it'll make you happy, but it'll do something, I hope, to you. It'll give you a takeaway moment that you can share with others, maybe over coffee or breakfast the next day. When I do some of these feature stories, they're hyperboles. I almost become something like a street performer. I'm vulnerable. You're naked to the world. I want to be over the top sometimes because I want to physically show people what I think is going on here. When I dressed as a grape to defend a kid who wore a banana costume and got suspended in school for wearing a banana costume at halftime of a football game, suspended for 10 days, I thought that was outrageous. What better way to do that story than do it as a piece of fruit yourself? So we had a grape talking to a banana. It was surreal. And eventually the suspension was nullified. And in fact, I think the principal resigned. And I never talked to her, but I understand she was somewhat of a prune. I don't know, but that's what we do sometimes to drive those points across.
Okay, terrific, Pat. I would imagine, are you gonna miss? Are you gonna miss? Obviously, your things are gonna cross your radar, and you're gonna think, "Boy, that's a great story." What will you do with your time? What will you do with the stories? And my coworkers asked, "What will you do with the snow stick?"
Okay, well, first of all, in every reporter, there's a little firehouse dog. So every time you see a big story on the air and you see the sirens and the flashing lights and you see, all the trouble that's going on, you're going to have a great urge to get up, go out the door and run to the scene. I probably will have that urge from time to time, but I'll manage to control it. You just got to. I haven't decided what I'm going to do next. There will be a next. I just don't know what it is. The Pat Collins snow stick will go on in perpetuity at Channel 4. There'll be snow stick challenges, and people will have an opportunity to get an official Pat Collins snow stick, which I think is a nice thing to have on your mantle, and the only way really to accurately measure snow in the city of Washington. I like to think it's more accurate than National Airport. It just won't be me handing it out. It just won't be me setting up the challenge. But the stick itself will be there, hopefully forever, in perpetuity.
Terrific, Pat. So great to talk with you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Gonna miss you,
Best of
seeing you out
luck
and
to
about.
you, and thanks to all my friends at TOP. You guys do a great job. You're on speed dial on my radio. I listen to you guys all the time. That's how I know sometimes what's going on, and I'll continue to listen. And everybody, I hope, will continue to watch News 4. There's some great people over there.